Welcome to the American College Surgeons Bulletin Brief from the front lines, Surgeons' Voices. With me today is my friend, Dr. Nakayama. Dr. Nakayama, in addition to being a clinical professor of surgery, pediatric surgery at the University of North Carolina, is the treasurer of the American College of Surgeons, a formidable job and a big responsibility. Welcome, Don.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, it's an honor being here.
Well, I enjoy working with you. I learn from you at every meeting, but I know you rely on a bevy of others to work with you on the corpus of money and the investment strategy of the college. I thought we might take a few minutes today to share some of the financial underpinnings of the college with our fellows and members at large. So perhaps you could first start out by telling us a little bit about how finances work at the college in terms of the investment strategy and in terms of monetary management.
Sure. You know, the day-to-day management of the college really is Dave Hoyt as the executive director and Gabe Vincent, who's our CFO, and they're in charge of the day-to-day running of the college, and they're in charge of how money is spent on that kind of basis. They really report to the finance committee of the Board of Regents, and they're responsible for making sure that our fiscal house is in order. Part of that is our investments, and our investments for the college cracked $500 million this past May, which is quite an achievement. It's really a legacy of the hard work and wise management of the college funds to have a corpus that large. But it's really necessary to have that because it's the financial income from that corpus that allows us to do many of the novel things that we have to do. We have a target of spending 5% of that every year, and that is part of our being a nonprofit organization. And that spins off upwards to about $7 to $8 million a year, and that allows us to do a lot of the stuff that we have to do as far as education, training, and all the stuff that we do as far as advocacy and new programs such as the quality programs and the cancer program, the trauma programs, and the new ones that we want to initiate. So it's an important part of how we support the college activities.
Yeah, that corpus is fundamental. I've learned during my 9 years on the Board of Regents and the last several serving under you on the investment subcommittee and as well on the finance committee. Were it not for that formidable corpus, dues obviously would have to be much higher in order to maintain the programs that we have, or we wouldn't be able to have as robust a portfolio of programs. So the question is, who helps manage it besides for Dave and Gay?
Yeah, you know, I think it has to be said that it grows, right? And so even with the 5% hurdle, 5% spend, not all of it gets spent because the financial management of the college has been solid. Okay, we've been able to grow the corpus. We don't spend all of our investment income, and that's allowed the corpus of the college's holdings to grow. The portfolio is managed by a company called Cambridge Associates, and they manage scores of foundations, universities, and other entities, including some families, right, who have a lot of money to invest, and they have access just by the size and variety of their holdings to invest in vehicles that individual investors just don't have. Because the college has gotten a critical mass of investment size of hundreds of millions of dollars, that allows us to participate in not only equity entities, but also private investments and venture capital and real assets that just aren't accessible to smaller investors. Also, the time horizon for the college is infinite, right? And so what I always equate it to my own experience, right? You at a point in your career where you have a seemingly a long time environment, it pays to be fully invested. And that's where the college is all the time. Okay, we have the luxury of being able to have that ability to diversify into various income producing entities so that we can take part in profits when they come, and be relatively shielded from losses when they inevitably occur. So it's that sort of strategy that Cambridge allows us to have. So we have about 65% in growth, and about 20% now in private investments. We have hedge funds and real assets and fixed income vehicles that provide the kind of diversity that you want to make money when times are good and protect yourself when times are bad.
So that strategy under your stewardship, as well as the stewardship of, say, Dave Hoyt and Gay Vincent and the rest of the team, will ensure the longevity and growth of the corpus, and therefore the college to continue to thrive as it has until this point in time. Other things have been added to the portfolio. So in addition to cash holdings or cash equivalent holdings, does the college have investments in other things such as real estate?
Yeah, we have we have real estate, and that's a little bit of a you know, it is a measure of the health of the organization that we are able to have real estate, right? And so we own the building at 20F, where the Washington office is, and then the skyscraper, the 633 St. Clair building, which is, you know, nearly 30 stories tall. It's one of the landmarks in that area of Chicago, and the college occupies the top 5 floors, but leases out the rest of it. And so that gives us some real estate income as well. It's a little out of our wheelhouse. We also have various other properties that have come into our management, but you know, they're much smaller, and they don't they're so far away that we're better off without them. So it's not the primary way that we have of making money, the real estate holdings, but it's just reflective of the really solid health of the organization, that we're able to own our own building, and not only in Washington, in the middle of K Street, but also in the middle of Miracle Mile area of Chicago and Streeterville.
Yeah, absolutely. In addition, you mentioned diversification in terms of funds, and told us a little bit about some of that strategy for hedging against things. Speaking of diversity, the college, of course, recently hosted a diversity, equity, and inclusion anti-racism summit for something approximately 120 surgical societies from North America on June 23rd. In addition, there's a governor's pillar, and there's an office of DEI at the college for which a director is being recruited. How does that very important initiative play into our investment strategy?
Yeah, you know, the surgery or surgical organizations traditionally have been about education, right? And to serve all with skill and fidelity. That's the motto of the college. And it's about, you know, taking care of patients in the operating room, in the hospital, in the clinic. And that's been the scope of the American College of Surgeons like forever. But over the past decades, and it's been a long time, really, but we've been concerned about how the impact of society and the environment have impacted not only the fellows, but also our patients, right? Because the health of the patients, it's more than what they bring to the operating room. And I think research has shown that there are significant social and environmental impacts on the patients that we serve. So much so that the ACS has significant offices and committees addressing exactly those things, and among them is race and environment and various other social issues that have such an impact on care. The other thing is that it's the most of the growth of the American College of Surgeons now, as far as membership, is global, and it's global, and it's with women, and it's of people of color, and so there's an entire world out there that we have to that has become under the umbrella of the American College of Surgeons. It's part of who we are. It's part of our values, and addressing those is what we do. And our investments and where we put our money really has to be in that realm as well. You know, it reflects what we think is important. In so doing, you know, we have to make sure that we have a diverse portfolio. It's not just because diversity for just for diversity's sake, right? Because the world, every field, including surgery, has gone through this transition toward a more diverse workforce. You know, when you and I, well, probably me for sure, were in training, it was more like a fraternity, right? It was like the ATO house in terms of the residency. And then over the years, it's become like more like the community, right? And we wouldn't have turned back, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But in so doing, we've enriched the practice of surgery. The same thing's going on with financial services. Right now, financial services is overwhelmingly white and male. And the total universe of financial services is only about like 1%, 1% Black uh, and women and people of color. And the assets of under management is far less than that, right? And so it's been estimated that if the world mobilized just women, then the entire world economy would grow by some 14 to 20 trillion dollars. And so it's not just for the just for the sense of fairness, but it's also for returns as well, because that's where the growth is going to be, and you have to be in that space. In order to be in that space, you need to have managers that can leverage that. And it's been shown that diverse managements outperform the market at 35% more of the time. They're likely to be smaller because they're just starting out, and smaller companies have outsized returns. It's just one of the laws of finance, right? And so, you want to make sure that you're in that space, not only because it's right, but because that's where the returns are going to be. That's where the world's going to be.
Well, those are some outstanding insights that I think should give our fellows and members an appreciation of what the college does to ensure longevity, to ensure strength, to ensure growth, and to ensure that we're keeping up with the times and ideally staying ahead of them and staying on the edge of that curve, which, as you've just demonstrated, not only is the socially responsible thing to do, but is fiscally sound as well. So thanks for all of the information today. Any additional comments before we close?
Yeah, I think one thing that's important to realize is that for an organization of our size to have an endowment of $500 million, $500 billion, is a legacy of outstanding leadership and generosity. It's a testament to the history of the American College of Surgeons, and it is both important to realize that backward seeking and also forward seeking. Forward seeking, the thing to do is to invest in the things that make sense. And things that make sense is going to be a more diverse world. It's going to be a world that's increasingly less US centric and centered in not only in Europe, but Eastern Europe and in Asia and in Africa, and to do what we can to support those efforts, not only for humanitarian reasons, but also for our fiscal health.
Well, thanks again. Thanks for the information today. Thanks for your time all year round on behalf of all of the members and fellows of the college. And great to see you. Hope that it's in the not too distant future in person.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Don.